Not sure the council would go for that.
I'm not sure the Jedi Council is going to go for that.
But you know what? Look, let's be real. The Jedi kind of suck.
The Jedi kind of suck.
I don't like the Jedi. The Jedi are assholes. They're kind of shitty and not very smart. And honestly, this whole clone and I'll get into it in the episode, but like this whole thing, I can't believe it took me as long as it did to go, hey, yeah, cloning some guy and basically just using clones as an army is kind of immoral and fucked up, isn't it? And the Jedi basically setting themselves up as the superior officers for all of it. Like, this is not okay. Like, this is deeply wrong.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You know what else is deeply wrong?
What's that?
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Pixelit. My name is Kevin. With me, as always, is Phil. And on today's show, we're talking Republic Commando Hard Contact by Karen Traviss. And it is a Star Wars book in the not Republican Commando.
That'd be I'd play that because
that's a different type,
game.
That is
final boss is storming January 6th. Like
that's basically Far Cry 5.
I mean, you know what? Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Final boss is January 6th. Like if this was the 90s, yes, there would have been like a game made on the whatever Postal was made on. Is it the Source engine or something? Where it was like Jan 6 Stormer or something like that.
Right, exactly. Oh man.
Oh Jesus.
Republican Commando. Good Lord.
So it's part of the Republic Commando series, which was intended as like a multimedia like effort of books and games. So they didn't really it never really got finished. So I'm looking at the Wikipedia of it. And so you have Hard Contact, which is the first thing that comes out, and that's a book. And then you have Star Wars Republic Commando, the game, which was made by LucasArts. And then you have a bunch of like short stories and novels, everything written by Karen Traviss. There was also another game, Republic Commando Order 66. I don't know if that's a port of the... no, it's its own. Wait a minute. Was this It was a mobile game. Ew. No, here's the thing. I said ew as in like, I actually kind of like, there's a lot of mobile games I like, but this is a mobile game in 2005.
I see.
a phone game in 2005. You can't imagine that this was like really anything.
Yeah.
So there were a bunch of novels. There was supposed to be a game that kind of culminated the whole thing called Imperial Commando. That was canceled.
And there was one book in that series, too.
There was one book, and there was supposed to be a second book. So it was supposed to be Imperial Commando 501st, and then there was that was the only novel that came out. There was supposed to be a second novel written by Karen Traviss and a Imperial Commando video game. Those two things were canceled. And according to this, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't say why it was canceled necessarily, but it was. It looks like we're closing in on the Disney purchase. So that's probably when things kind of like.
I'm seeing here that at least. As far because this is such a great idea in terms of like taking Republic Commando and moving onward into Imperial Commando and the changes that's a fascinating idea to the point that I actually really want to read these. And it says here that she didn't write the sequel to Imperial Commando, at least the book, because of the Clone Wars television series, and they were having issues with canon stuff.
Gotcha.
So
that makes sense.
It's similar to the Disney buy thing, like canon shit. And this is my edition of the book, has that lovely Legends.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Disney.
It's been relegated.
And that's the thing. It's like I was as excited as anybody else when the new trilogy came out, and a lot of these new shows that are coming out, some of them look really good, some of them are good. But it's like you look at the stories that take place, the way that the canonical story takes place after Jedi in the books with like the Yuzhang Vong and like all this like Vector Prime and all that shit. And it's absurd and it's crazy and really over the top, and it's still better than what we ended on with the final trilogy.
And it's hilarious because you got what's his name? The guy who was the runner for the Clone Wars series. He was clearly a fan of the old canon because he includes like the Ahsoka series, the Ahsoka TV show that just came out. I mean, the main villain is Grand Admiral Thrawn, you know?
Right.
He's been like slowly like weaving in like stuff from the Legends canon because like I feel like he even recognizes how cool some of this shit was.
Some of it's amazing, yeah.
Like
so
it's Vector
not
Prime
canon anymore. Make it canon again.
Yeah, like let's make it canon again.
Yeah.
Like Vector Prime, that's the one where Chewbacca gets killed, right?
Yeah, you can't just spoiler alert for like a 20-year-old book, but
20-year-old
you can't
book.
just kill.
That's quote not canon anymore, but
well, that's true. That's a good point. But you can't kill Chewie just any old way. They had to crush him with a goddamn planet. That's the only way you can get rid of that Wookiee bastard. Like you gotta smash him with the moon. If you're gonna fucking R.A. Salvatore, a lot of people were pissed off at him over that decision.
But if you're gonna do it, R.A.
damn. Yeah.
God fucking damn it, man. He didn't
die like
it.
some bitch going down trying to get his son to join him and give up bad ways and then get sliced in half with a lightsaber.
God, they really did that to Han Solo.
They did him so dirty. I know Harrison Ford was thrilled, and I respect his wishes. But god damn, they did Han dirty.
They did Han so fucking dirty in that movie.
Yeah.
They did so many things dirty in that movie, and I will never forgive J.J. Abrams.
They just
I understand I understand it now. I understand Star Trek fans that were pissed off at J.J. Abrams, and I was like, well, I'm not a big Trek guy, right? So I'm like, I don't know. I thought they were pretty good, whatever. And then he went and he did it to Star Wars, and I'm like, oh, I get it.
I see.
He went from your thing to my thing, and he did the thing that you hated over there to my thing.
Yeah.
So we're united now.
I mean, Abrams. Oh God, that man. I'm glad that we live in an era where people are mostly wise to his bullshit, but it's just he took one of the most important franchises in the modern world and just was clearly the level of not taking it seriously was just off the charts. And so
and I think there's so much, there's obviously there's a bunch of things that happen, like he fucking lets Oscar Isaac talk him into his character staying alive. Carrie Fisher literally fucking dies during production of the second one. Things like that. But you just gotta be a fucking better filmmaker overall than what we had. And
you should have a clear vision of how it's going to start and end before you get started, and not just fake it as you go.
Somehow the Emperor has returned.
I hadn't seen that movie. I had never seen that one until earlier this year. I just skipped out on it. I didn't want to know. In the end, I came out mostly positive on the second one. It had problems, but God, it had some of the most picturesque moments in
Rian
the
Johnson.
franchise.
It's Rian Johnson.
It was great. And finally, Emily and I did this thing this year where we actually just watched a bunch of trilogies, and we watched all 9 Star Wars films, like main canon Star Wars films. And she, this is one of the rare instances where she out-geeked me, because she had seen all 3 of the new trilogy, but I had not. And she was like, do you know what happened? And somehow, Kevin, I didn't. I had avoided, I had like some vague idea of Emperor or something, but I didn't, I had somehow avoided the worst of it. I'm actually pretty good at that. If I don't want to be spoiled, I can avoid it, generally speaking.
Right.
But and I watched that, and she looked at, she goes, look, I'm not a Star Wars geek and everything like that, but I know why people were pissed. I can see why people are pissed. And I was like, okay, wow, all right, sure, now I really need to watch it. And it was just, I was amazed.
You know what I was?
I don't give a fuckery.
Yeah, you know what I was? What was wild to me was the first one is. They like we made a Death Star, but it's a super Death Star, planet Death Star, planet Death, and it can kill a bunch of planets at once. And because of time dilation, you see them all happen at the same time. And I'm like, oh, fine, whatever.
Fine.
Where are we going with this? And we're like, we're destroying all these planets. And I'm like, oh shit, that sucks.
Yeah.
I had no idea that meant that the entire New Republic was destroyed. Until this, like, I was like, wait, why are they on the run? Like, you mean there was, like, they destroyed every New Republic planet?
Off camera, yeah.
Like, it was only like, they destroyed 5 planets. I don't think they destroyed Coruscant. What's going on here? Why would they be on the, like, I understand this is a massive disaster, but there have been other times when the bad guys have destroyed a populated planet in Star Wars, and it didn't mean that there just wasn't any ships anymore.
Right. It set everything in a weird tone, and it was like an artificial sense of urgency that was just kind of plopped in your lap, and it didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're hearing right now is a couple of aging geeks who, despite the fact that this podcast has been going for about 2.5 years, have never covered a Star Wars anything on this show, and we're just letting loose.
We're ripping that Band-Aid off right now, baby.
Right off the bat. Yeah. That's how this works.
Oh, God. Yeah, so... And I just have to ask you this. After you watched all 9...
Yeah.
What were your feelings... And we did that like a couple years ago, right? Mm-hmm. We watched all 9. I came out of that with better feelings about the prequel trilogy than I had when I was younger. What was your vibe?
No. That didn't change for me.
That didn't change at all.
That didn't change for me. I appreciate the fact that nowadays, especially geeks in their, especially the aging ones, are starting to come around and realize that Hayden Christensen was in kind of an impossible position. He's not the reason that those movies failed. If anything, Natalie Portman is just as awful in them as he is, but he's the one who got all the fucking dirt slung at him. And it's just, when you've got terrible dialogue, there's only so much you can fucking do with it. So I'm glad that he's getting kind of a clap on the back these days. You know, he's showing up at cons and people are cheering for him. I love that. I think that's great.
He came back to play Anakin. In the Ahsoka series.
And by all accounts did an incredible job. So good for him. I think that's great. I wouldn't mind, and we've talked about this before, I wouldn't mind some sort of TV show where it's like prototype Vader, like going off and like starting shit like that. I would watch him in that. That'd be fine.
Yeah, I would just fucking watch Vader.
Sure. Yeah. If you've got a good writer for it and everything. But no, those films are still hot garbage. I'll tell you what it did make me want to do. It did make me want to somehow, in some way, crack open the impenetrable walnut of the Clone Wars series.
Yes. So
there's much of it, though. Every time I want to start, it's like 200 hours, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the Clone Wars series and Rebels.
Yes.
The two Dave Filoni, that's his name. The 2 Dave Filoni series are kind of like the things that make they're like the redeeming features of the prequel era stuff, right? So, and honestly, I mean, you could go back and watch the Gennady Tartakovsky Clone Wars series, which is super stylized and all that. It was like running when the movies came out. But then there's the second Clone Wars series that came out much later by Dave Filoni, which not as heavy on the style, but in terms of like the fucking war story shit that you're looking for, still targeted towards kids, teens, whatever, but it's not like for adults or whatever. It's not like fucking Andor.
Right, yeah. It's not that bleak. Yeah.
It's not that bleak, but it's good. It has a lot of fucking good stuff in it. There are some moments in Rebels, in the last season of Clone Wars, where just the cinematography of, I know it's all CG, but the cinematography, just the shot design was impeccable. Because, I don't know, it's just amazing to see that kind of care and effort put into stuff like that.
That was the one thing I had always heard, that those series were amazing. That they were just like in many people's
real love
eyes,
letters to the Star Wars universe. And it's like it's like you got Dave Filoni gets all this, does all this stuff. Then you get to J.J. Abrams with the fucking sequel series, who clearly doesn't have that same connection to the universe that Dave Filoni had. And I know a lot of people criticize Dave Filoni because he's very, very, very comic booky in his character. Like, he loves to do the character crossovers. He loves this character appearing in this thing and whatever. And then, some people criticize him for that. I'm like, fine, fuck it, whatever. It's a saga. You can have characters.
You can. That's part of the fun. You can have those crossed lines, and
But yeah,
I will say, go on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Go for it.
Well, I was going to say, I still think that the prequels are garbage, but I was able to watch them with a more critical eye in terms of what could be made of this that is so good as everyone says. And by the end of the prequels, I was able to see it. I was able to go, okay, they've set a lot of seeds here. There's a lot of stuff that they could play with, that you could. I get it. I can see where that would be good. I still have not braved that, because that's going to take a long time. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah, you watch it with your kid,
That's, you see, you know what? That's a way to think about it. Eventually, that's a good way to think about it.
That's going to be a good way to.
I'm going to be revisiting everything with that boy. Holy shit. It's going to be cool. It's going to be pretty cool. Yes. This kid is going to be just tempered and raw geek. It's
He should be the purest of geek steel.
I love it. My in this you can trust. That's another thing I'll show. Well, you want to get on with it then? You want to?
Let's put the body in the marsh.
Let's put the body in the marsh. But I do real quick want to say a little bit about Karen Travis.
Oh yes, herself. Let's take that body back out of the marsh.
Take the body out of the marsh. She is an English writer, and it does a lot of stuff. She wrote like all of the Gears of War novels.
Wow. Okay.
She's written a bunch of Halo novels, and she's written a bunch of Star Wars stuff, including like you pointed out, the entire Republic Commando series. And I was pretty impressed with this book because of the military nature of it. It's very authentic in that sense, and that's because Karen served in the UK's version of the Army Reserves and the Navy Reserves. So she's actually very, a military woman.
First hand. She's okay. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty cool, and so we're probably going to be revisiting her if we ever get to the Gears of War.
I'm
series
sure we're gonna. I mean, Gears of War and Halo,
and Halo,
we're gonna,
and she's in that kind of mid-level. Her first Halo book came out in 2011, so she's not as modern as some of the stuff we've read, but she's not as classic as some of the other ones we've read.
So it might be a bit till we get to her on the Halo
but
front.
we will get to her. So this is, but honestly, this is a great way to get introduced to her. This is fantastic.
I totally agree. And as I believe it was Troy Denning said, Karen Traviss was the one who kind of influenced him to get into writing Halo.
Did he say that? I totally forgot. Holy shit!
I think
that's
it was.
Cool.
He was talking about Karen Traviss. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool as shit. Okay. I love that. Karen, we're gonna get you on the show.
We got to get you on the show, fun. Karen.
Got to get you on the show, Boobala. Okay.
All right.
Now,
body in the marsh.
Marsh body.
What fucking size of dog is that? That's a big fucking dog, man.
Okay. We open up with a prologue. We are introduced to a member of a Theta Squad, Darman, who sets an explosive during a high-intensity battle in the Geonosian planet. And we basically witness in a couple of pages him losing his entire squad. And Republic Commandos are made up of 4-people squads. They are the best of the best. And they work in tiny groups that basically function as families for them, for all intents and purposes. So we get to witness the moment where he loses his whole family, essentially.
Right. Yep.
And not all of that is clear in the moment, but we do pick it up. So we start out in chapter 1 with a report of Republic ships carrying literally thousands of wounded and casualties after this battle in Geonosia. It succeeded. They accomplished their mission, but the cost was crazy, crazy high.
Yeah, this is literally the final moments of episode 2.
Yes,
is the battle on Geonosis where the clone troopers swoop down and start, killing a lot of people.
Yeah, and they accomplish what they're out for, but at what cost? Darman, also known as RC 1136, because all of the clone troopers are basically just given serial code, and so they all kind of develop their own nicknames and that sort of thing. Darman, he is among a bunch of other clone troopers, not commandos like himself. The troopers are kind of more of your grunt, basic, boots on the ground, meat shields, and kind of act like it when they see Darman. They're kind of impressed by the look of him. He is waiting for a pickup. It makes a point of saying very specifically, this is not a retreat. We got what we wanted. We're leaving. He's also waiting for the rest of his squad, who he assumes has made it out, maybe not assumes. Maybe the proper
He's
words.
hoping, and he threatens the guy who is like getting people onto the ship, and he's like, they're gonna fucking come,
right?
And he's like, okay.
And the loadmaster's like, okay, man, just don't fucking. He just screams Dookie in Darman's face, and
Dookie.
Darman wants to know what's that smell.
What's that smell?
Dookie. Eventually, he's basically alone. Nobody comes. He is informed that anybody who isn't there is dead. So the deck is silent, and he just gets on a gunship, and it's a ship full of trauma. It is just
all the bags of trauma everywhere.
Oh, just everywhere. Just troopers and commandos, a bunch of guys who all look like each other, just dealing with the horrors of war. He keeps asking about his squad, but basically he's like, just like, look, they're gone. They're gone.
They're gone. Like identical twins know what's going on with their twin.
Yeah.
Twin sense.
Yeah, exactly.
He has a vibe.
He figures it out.
And I think we also get some like interesting these moments on the ship where he's like asking around and talking and all that stuff. Some like interesting differences between a rank and file clone trooper and a commando.
Yeah.
Whereas like the commandos have better gear.
Yep.
And then they're harder trained than the troopers are. And the troopers think the commandos are arrogant.
Yes, yeah. It's so funny to think of it in terms of these being clones, because they are. They're all genetically identical, but some of them are better than others at certain things and are chosen for special positions and resentment forms. So they are not the... in many ways, they lack a certain level of free will, at least in the sense that they have been trained to death, sometimes literally. You hear a lot about...
as we'll find out.
You hear a lot about them dying in the training. You do get some interesting... The better kit, better training. We get Existential Crisis #1, where he considers the fact that... as a trooper or a commando, as a clone, you basically don't need to know the purpose of your life. You already know what it is. It's to go out there and go where the Jedi tell you to go and go kill people. And he experiences shame, even though they won. And he kind of contemplates to himself, if this is how it feels to win, how much worse would it have felt to lose?
Right.
And that's just the beginning.
The beginning
of the existential meltdowns that make up, I would say, 60% of this book.
Yeah, because guess what, folks? Get ready to meet the worst Jedi ever.
The worst. Yes, and we cut to the planet Quilura, where Etain Tur-Miran is running from a Weequay sex pest, let's just say.
He's feeling a little amorous.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, he is trying to find her, and it just seems kind of at first like he's a nasty character who maybe she met in a bar or something like that, but it does get steadily worse as time goes on. She hides successfully, and her pursuer is attacked and threatened by a stranger who she recognizes the voice of, or can guess at who the voice is, but doesn't. But we don't get that information quite yet. She hides in basically a dung heap, is covered in shit. And finally runs. And she runs. She meets up with a local farmer and kind of makes sure she's got her lightsaber on her. And you realize that she is a Padawan on the run, and not even a very good one.
She's very bad.
She's not a good fighter. She's not really good at Jedi mind tricks, as we'll see. She's not really good at like moving shit with her mind. She's not really all that in tuned with the Force. As she puts it later in the book, her special skill is seeing opportunity, which I don't think you have to be a Jedi for that one. I feel like you could have just done something else, you know.
I remember, and this is it's kind of funny and off track, but it's still Star Wars. I remember it was I think it was Tales from Mos Eisley Cantina or something like that. There's a short story in there about this guy, a guy who's at the bar the night that Luke meets up with Han Solo.
Oh, this guy witnesses the whole fucking
the whole thing, but he was there tracking Han Solo because the guy is a luck vampire.
What?
And he's like he has this whole internal monologue about how luck is just as much of a thing in the universe as the Force, just nobody else realizes it. And he kills people and absorbs their luck, and he could see it radiating off of Han Solo. And it like always like stuck with me. This like weird little, I think it was Tales from Mos Eisley Cantina or something that. So I was like, yeah, she's like a like Han Solo, just has that luck energy.
A luck vampire. That is cool as shit. That's really neat. I would want to play one of those.
And this is the fucking weird shit that you would get in the pre-Disney Star Wars universe.
Yes. You could do this shit. So cool.
You could have a random sci-fi author write a random story about a thing in Mos Eisley Cantina.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm going to find that because that's some cool shit.
Yeah, find that. Because I might have just made it up. I don't, but I'm pretty sure I remember. Pretty sure I remember reading.
If you made that up, we've got to get you a gig fucking working to do right for hire shit for Star Wars.
Yeah. One thing about this entire scene is it could not be written like this today. Not because the Weequay is a little sexual assaulty, but because of the way it talks about the Weequay racially.
Yes. And we get that a lot, actually. Yeah.
We get that a lot. And it's like, it's a little, it gets a little uncomfortable in the book where it's just like the Weequays, they're just fucking dumb,
Right.
And when they learn words, it's only about their baser needs or something like that. And I'm like, ooh,
yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of Weequay characters in Clone Wars and other things like that are like, really bright characters. And we have, there's a smuggler / pirate guy who, I'm forgetting his name now, but he's one of the guys that talks. They actually have an animatronic of him at Disney World now in one of the Star Wars rides, because of how big of a character he is in like Clone Wars and Rebels and things like that.
Nice.
But yeah, so I read those parts and I'm like,
Yeah. I can. That's among the issues there. So we find out that Etain is not an amazing Jedi. Isn't really known for her discipline. She basically demands that the farmer give her some shelter, and they go off together. Meanwhile, we head over to the barracks at Ord Mantell, and RC-1309, also known as Niner, who is a sergeant within the Republic Commandos. We meet him, and he meets RC-8015, Fee, and they are both orphaned troopers, and basically they're going to be put together, and it gets real awkward right off the bat. They're sharing a barracks, and just kind of... Fee is like really friendly, kind of, and just trying to make friends, trying to be sweet. And Niner is still feeling some shitty feelings, and so he's kind of not being. He's not being mean. He's just not really. He's kind of cold. He's giving him a cold shoulder.
Sure. Yeah.
And keeps pointing out that the whole campaign, the Geonosian campaign, was a giant waste. Even though they won, he was like, "We are commandos. We are like elite. We should not have been thrown into that fucking pressure cooker. That was something you just need to throw a wall of troopers at, and it was a waste that we lost our people."
Right.
And so Fee finally gets in his bunk, and it's actually a really cute moment where he gets in his bunk and he starts kind of singing this little Mandalorian war chant to himself. It's like you could tell he's like this is something he does when he's nervous or upset or something. He's trying to calm himself, and Niner joins in with the whole thing, and they sing together a little bit. Finally, they finish the song, and Fee looks at Niner and says, "I did my best." He didn't run away. He just lost his people. And Niner says, "I know." And it's a nice bonding moment between the two of them. And that's chapter 1. Chapter 2 takes us. We start off in a briefing room in Ord Mantell.
One second.
Yeah.
The character's name is Danik Jericho.
I know that name.
He is a guy with he's the guy that's smoking a pipe and has the really fucked up nose.
He may have been a character in that Star Wars mobile game I was playing for years.
He shows up in a bunch of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jericho drank his victim's brain matter, or soup of life as he called it.
Jesus.
He preyed on murderers, thieves, and thugs. Yeah, and he on the day of Greedo's death, Jericho sensed a strong, intoxicating soup of life from a human. And then Jericho's attention was drawn upon his discovery of Han Solo's presence, sensing a strong soup and aware of the bounty on his head. Jericho planned to make his move, but the smuggler departed from Tatooine before he could act.
I know I've read him in something. I know that name. That
so yes, I wasn't making it up.
No, you had it. You nailed it.
Danik Jericho, or the Luck Eater, they call him. He just Hannibals people.
That's fun. I will never get tired of that, of the thing that Star Wars does where they're like, look, we had 1,000,001 characters who pop up on screen very briefly. We did their makeup for hours to get them in that shot. Let's give them a full backstory. Why not?
Yeah.
Why
And it's
not?
Timothy Zahn who wrote the story.
I think he might be my favorite.
Who wrote the specific short story that I'm thinking of.
He is an incredible fucking writer in general, but his Star Wars stuff is
top-notch.
Incredible. Yeah. That's
chapter 2. Sorry,
chapter 2.
I just had to bring it back. You know,
that was absolutely worth coming back to. Okay, chapter 2. We're in a briefing room in Ord Mantell. We get a quote about clones having free will. Darman is awoken from his stasis and is assigned to Fee and Niner. The three of them have a meeting with a Jedi Padawan and some sort of strange shapeshifter alien that they do not know. And he just kind of creeps around being creepy. That's kind of he really just adds to the tension of the creepiness in the room.
This whole scene is very tense because the Padawan is like talking and giving orders and stuff like that, but also doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
Oh yes, very much.
Somehow simultaneously, it was like, "Ooh, don't ask me. I'm just a little boy who doesn't know anything."
But then he orders him around. It's and all these clones know is obey Jedi, no matter how, little they may know about what the fuck is going on, which will come into play later.
Yes.
So finally, we get our fourth squatty, RC-3222, who is not, we don't know his nickname just yet, but he joins them, and he's very badly scarred from the battle. He has refused back to treatment for this elaborate long red scar on his face. And so right off the bat, we're like, okay, you're different. Got it.
Yeah.
He's not like other clones.
Not like the other clones.
Yeah. So we get our objective. The planet Kulura is neutral, but likely to change. It's mostly farmland. There is no government, but it's run by the traders there through a militia that is led by a Mandalorian named Gez Hokan, who is known for being particularly nasty, brutal kind of a dude.
And so it's very early days in the war still.
Yes.
And so it's like, right now. Yeah, it is neutral, but it's a trade federation planet for all intents and purposes.
Right. So, and very specifically, what they're meant to do is twofold. They need to go there and apprehend a scientist named this incredible name, even for Star Wars. And I don't mean incredible, but I love it. It's just so over the top. Ovalot Quail Uthan. That is a name. That is three names. She's a scientist, and they are meant to capture her and destroy a nanovirus that she is working on. They used to have a Jedi contact there, but they haven't heard from him. They have no idea what's happened.
Hasn't checked in.
There's no long reach communications that they will be able to do down there. They won't, because they don't want their signals to get picked up by the Nemoidian overlords there, who are basically the traitor, the leaders. Yep. And they don't want to piss them off. This needs to be super, super covert. So
very covert.
Yeah. So any comm stuff is like literally within like 15 meters of each other, which isn't much at all. Oh, and by the way, the nanovirus they're working on is aimed specifically at destroying clones.
Yep.
So kind of an important mission they're on.
So it's like clear that at some point, because the war hadn't really started quite yet until like there was the attack on the on Naboo, and that was like 10 years earlier. I don't know if the war is full throated yet until really the clones get involved. But clearly somebody had started this development of this virus knowing that there was a clone army coming.
Yes. It's super early. Clearly she's got some kind of insider information.
Yes.
Okay. They side quest, if they can, rescue the Jedi.
Please do so. Yeah.
If you got it, it will give you 500 extra experience if you can pick up that Jedi. But the virus and scientists are the priorities. So they're led to the armory by the Padawan. Lots of tasty gun porn for them to enjoy. Jusik, the Padawan, is kind of just as curious about them as they seem to be about him. Like, this is clearly his first time really interacting with the clones. Right. And he's kind of asking them about their nature and that kind of thing. The wounded Commando has his I ain't got time to bleed moment, where they say, we really need to take care of that fucking giant massive head wound you've got, and gives his nickname, which is Atten, which is, I believe they said it was Mandalorian for stubborn.
Mandalorian for stubborn.
Yeah, which, there you go.
Which, fun fact, my last name, Erhard, could be translated in German, and like, I guess, Middle German, as stubborn.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's perfect. Erhard. That makes sense. Darman very quickly takes on the munitions role. He sees all the blowy-uppy stuff and goes, yeah, I will have one of each, please. Thank you very much.
I like the bombs.
Yes. The shapeshifter explains that the Jedi Master that's missing, Fulier, has quote-unquote discipline issues, which totally weirds Darman out, because the idea that a Jedi would be anything other than this master Buddhist monk is crazy.
To the clones up until this point in their relatively short lives, the Jedi have always been talked about as perfection.
Exactly. So hearing that is it's like finding out that Jesus Christ bit his fingernails. It's not really what you expected to hear. He was a bit of a glutton. What? Yeah,
he's a bit of a glutton. I mean, that's splitting the fish and the loaves. Like,
right.
It's all propaganda showing him as that's
half of it.
He ate half. Yeah, that's just propaganda. That's just fat shaming propaganda that they throw up on the cross there.
There were lots of people who wanted to eat and chose not to, but they didn't make a stink out of it because they didn't want to make a big deal. They didn't want to draw the attention. Anyway, they ask how much time they have to prep for this mission, and the guy says, 8 hours, because that's how long it takes to get to the planet, and we're fucking leaving now.
We're leaving. We're going.
Get in the car. We're going. So get your iPad. We're going to Grandma's. And so we cut to Etain, the world's worst Jedi, hiding out in a barn. She assumes that her master Fulier is dead, and she needs to either escape the planet or get word of what's going on off of the planet somehow. She's stolen some building schematics that would be really helpful for this exact mission. And we also learned from her that Gez Hokan is basically a total fucking monster. She has memories of wandering through villages that were just burnt to a crisp because they just kind of mildly inconvenienced him.
Yep.
She hears something outside, turns her lightsaber on, but it's just this old woman who has brought her some livestock. Well, no, she also has livestock, but she's bringing her dinner.
She's bringing her dinner and also bringing the livestock into the barn for the night.
Right. So Etain is very much like Jesus in that sense.
In that sense, yes.
Seeking shelter in the barn. We find out a little more about bark, BARQ, which is like the major crop that area grows, and it's kind of like it's like a vegetal. It's like truffles in a way. Like it's obscenely expensive.
Sure.
It's you don't get a lot of information on what it is at first. Later on, they'll talk about it being kind of earthy and kind of unpleasant in a way. But the rich people love it, so it fetches a high price. But none of the farmers themselves can afford it. But she has actually sprinkled a little bit of bark on top of the food that she's brought to Etain, and Etain is like, dude, you shouldn't have done this. This is too much. This is crazy. And she goes, well, I got it out of the dung that was all over your robe, and it seemed a waste.
She was using, because she was in an earlier scene, she had manure all over her, and she was using a handful of bark to like chip away at the manure.
That's right. So she said, so we gathered it up and put it on. It would be a shame to waste, so knock yourself out. And then kind of cryptically tells her, they're coming. So we get that. Chapter 3, we meet Gez Hokan. He is going to the Nemoidian to see a Nemoidian named Lick Anik.
Lick Ankit.
Lick Ankit, that's it. Ankit. What a name. God. Yeah, he's been quote unquote questioning a Jedi for Lick. And he gets there, he's kind of mocked by him. There's some real elitist overtones. And he's got the lightsaber of the Jedi, and we do get a heavy implication that he has killed the guy and taken his lightsaber. So he is now in control of a Jedi weapon. We cut back to Ord Mantell, where the squad, our fully formed 4-person commando squad, is basically taking an old rust bucket down. It's like a sprayer, basically.
It's like a crop sprayer. They're like,
it made me think of a crop duster.
We're trying to keep you guys like fucking undercover here, so you're gonna have to take this ship, this piece of shit down.
Luke Skywalker, what a hunk of junk, So they're gonna do that, and it's just like maybe it'll land, maybe. We find out this is funny. This is when I first suspected that maybe she was actually our author, Karen Travis, is a military woman. When they talk about the 6 Ps.
Yes.
Which, for those of you who don't know, the 6 Ps are proper planning prevents piss poor. Oh, what is the last one?
Performance.
Thank you. Yes, and he changes it to proper planning prevents. Bad.
Yeah, he goes. The 6 Ps, sir. Proper planning prevents inadequate performance.
That's it. Yeah.
Sir.
And I got a kick out of that because I grew up hearing that. I thought that it's kind of yeah. So and that level of levity kind of raises the hackles of the Padawan. In a way, he kind of gets a little shitty with him, and he says, "This is real to them," which you don't need to tell them that. Which pisses off Niner. Of course, he's not going to say anything. He's not going to do anything about it. But he's like, yeah, we know that. Like, all of us have lost all of our buddies. Yes. We know this. We know this isn't real. Atten is not playing well with others. He's very standoffish, kind of storm cloudy, not very friendly, not getting along with everybody. Let's see. The Padawan basically tells them, I hope to debrief you later after you get back. And it isn't until he's left that, because Niner goes, what? Of course he does. Why? And Niner realizes what he meant was good luck. It was his way of saying good luck to you.
Right.
Which I got a real kick out of that.
Yeah.
It cuts to Etain and the villagers. They are inside for the night to avoid Gedans, which we get more and more about them. They're basically rats. Like they're just,
yeah.
or jackals or something. They're scavengers.
I started picturing them as like the attitude of rats, but at the size of capybaras.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That's a good way of looking at it.
Like if capybaras weren't chill as fuck,
yes,
and they had more of like that rat mode attitude.
Absolutely,
that's what you would.
Yeah. And I totally agree. That's perfect. And they basically swarm things that are way bigger than them and try to eat them. And they're most active at night. So basically, everyone has to lock everything up. You can't be out at night because the Gadans will fuck you up.
They will just munch you down.
Yeah.
There's like a reference to like children being killed by Gadans or whatever. I think at some point.
They're nasty customers. Etain is kind of eating her dinner. She's not really
her poop in. Dinner.
Yeah, her poop dinner. And she gets I just felt a loss in the force moment and realizes that's probably her master who has died. She senses that someone is gone from the force and it must be him because on this planet it could only probably be him.
Right.
And starts considering the cryptic "they're coming" message from the old woman.
Yeah.
And after is kind of just getting more and more scared by the sounds of movement outside. And that's actually the end of my second notebook.
That's the end of your notebook. That's the end of your second pixel-lit notebook?
Yep. Got the other one up here. So that was the end of my second pixel-lit notebook. So
Jesus.
Starting a fresh one.
Fresh one.
Okay.
Needs a sticker on it.
I know. I've got. You can see because I'm basically a middle school girl. I'm obsessed with my stickers.
Yep.
And I put all my stickers in my books. And this one's so fresh; it doesn't have a single sticker on it yet. And I'm glowing with anticipation of what will be the first.
Something to peel off the little backing. And
oh, the beauty of it all. We cut to the Commando squad undercover in the Rust Bucket. They pass through security claiming that all they've got is farming equipment on there. We get a little more weapon porn. They are carrying a lot more gear than they normally do. I think they said that usually they'll carry like 25 kilos on their back, which is a considerable amount. And they're all stacked to the gills with double that. So it's a little odd and cumbersome to say the very least.
Yeah.
An engine, one of their engines goes out when it sucks up a bunch of birds. If you're wondering how well right off the bat this mission is going, it's going shit.
Like I'm surprised FUBAR as an acronym doesn't make an appearance in this book.
I can't believe they didn't bring up FUBAR. Absolutely. It's maybe that one's not in the military reserves over in Britain, but yeah. So the fucking birds take down this Rust Bucket and they start to crash. So they are being ordered to jump. They're getting all their shit together. Niner, the sergeant, orders Darman to jump, but Darman really wants to salvage more of the gear.
Yeah.
Than he should. He's like literally trying to strap it to the back of his legs and shit like that, and it doesn't want to lose anything. Darman wants to take more of the gear with them. He doesn't want to waste it. He's literally strapping it to the back of his legs and shit. Yep. And he wants to salvage as much of it as possible. And Niner's screaming at him to go. And so he just literally shoves Niner out the goddamn thing and listens to him cussing him out all the way down. It's kind of great. He finally loads himself up and jumps. And the droid who is piloting the Rust Bucket, he's watching it go down and basically has this moment of realization where he says, we're better than the droids. Everyone seems to say so, but we're just as expendable as they are.
Yep.
In many ways, I am no different than a droid, and this is existential crisis number 5 or 6 by now. He slams into a tree, blacks out.
He is
Chapter
out.
4.
Chapter 4.
Chapter 4.
Is he dead? We don't know yet.
We don't know yet. Well, we don't know yet. Yeah, exactly.
We don't know yet, but no, he's not dead.
He's not dead.
He's a main character.
We cut to the other 3 who are not Darman, and they are hauling their shit Niner is hauling his parachute, grumbling to himself about what a piece of shit Darman is, basically, and watches the ship explode, and then suddenly is kind of worried that Darman
That's
didn't
wild, though, when you think that we really don't get a lot of, like, fucking, like, just straight-up paratrooper action in Star Wars.
Yeah, he's putting away a literal parachute. It's kind of wild. My dad was a paratrooper, and I remember we'd go and watch him doing these jumps, and there was a whole thing you had to do with your gear and everything. And that's basically what he's doing here. I agree. I thought that was a really neat detail. So yeah, he's worried that Darman didn't make it. We get a really funny moment where the G'dans notice him, and they all start to try and chomp on him, but they're doing nothing. So he just kind of leaves them. So it's just him like trying to clean up his gear while
he's
these
like
little monsters are like
putting away his chute. You know, these fucking rodents are chewing on his arm,
chewing on him, and not getting and basically one by one going. There's no fucking point in stopping. He's trying to triangulate their position. He has no idea where they are. Finds Fee and Atten at a meeting point that they had set up. They have several rendezvous points that they're going to be going to throughout this. And they, of course, realize Darman and most of the explosives, as a result, are missing. Atten's still kind of being a prick about finding Darman. He's like, he's probably dead. Why are we bothering? And Ed Niner's very, heavy on, no, we're not giving up on him.
We're not giving up on him.
No. And it's just more of the fact that these guys, this is basically all the family that they have. So they really plant that home here. We cut to Etain and the farmer, Burhan. They are surveying an explosion in their bark field, which we can only assume is the rust bucket.
Is the rust bucket, yeah.
And it's just like destroyed this huge portion of his yearly crops, and he's fucked. He's absolutely fucked.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's being inspected. The crater's being inspected by some of the mercenary militia that work there. And
I really like this line, by the way, from the farmer. And it's a really interesting, and I think something that Karen Traviss really does well in this book is like that the movies don't necessarily touch on that. Because, like, the movies are like, oh, there's the bad guys and the good guys. And they're like, yay, whatever. And the farmer says to Etain, can't you have your fight on someone else's planet?
Absolutely.
Don't you think I have enough problems?
Absolutely.
Like this doesn't, your fucking galactic bullshit doesn't affect me.
Right. And I agree with you. They don't really touch on that all that much in the movies. But this is just the beginning of that. You get to see like the civilian life. It's like, it's like how it works in real life, frankly. It's like some of us are more politically inclined. Some of us read the news. Some of us pay attention to world events. But most people are just trying to get by. And they barely know what the fuck is going on. They don't know who or if anyone to pull for. They don't have that hard of opinions on things. And they would just wish that if you're going to have a huge, massive fucking battle, do it over there. Do it the next house over.
Right.
No, I totally agree. I think that's terrific. Militia gets an urgent call away, and Etain finds the remains of a Republic astrodroid in the rust bucket there and realizes that it's a rescue party. Cut to...
Meanwhile...
Darman, he has dug himself into a pit and is watching the road. He's not sure where he is. His leg is badly damaged. He's treating it with Bacta. He's hurting. He's hearing voices, and it's the militia. They are searching. And one of them just kind of comes straight for him to the point where he's literally standing on top of his cover. And Darman fucking Assassin's Creeds the shit out of him.
Yeah, with the vibroblade.
Yeah, vibroblades him and then shoots the other one in the head and takes them both out. And he realizes he sees these tracks, and the G'dan, who have also been like tromping on him and trying to get his attention, they've basically given him away because there are tracks leading up to where he is that stop.
Right. Yeah.
So fucking G'dan. Anyway, But then he notices, well, the one good thing about the Gedan is the cleanup's easy. He doesn't need to bury these bodies because they swarm the dead bodies and basically go to work disposing of them. He does realize that one of the Weequay, though, that he thought he had killed is still alive, and he regrets that, not doing a clean kill, and he makes a point to kill him before the Gedan move on to him, because that would be a horrible way to die.
Yeah.
And we hear that we find out that this is the first time he's never really seen death up close.
Right.
During
I
the
love this
Geonosian
moment. Yeah.
They
drilled him to. Yeah. The last paragraph here is they drilled him to kill and kill and kill, but nobody had thought to teach him what he was supposed to feel afterward. He did feel something, but he wasn't certain what it is. He'd think about it later.
Yeah, and that's a great line right there too, because that applies for a lot of the shit that goes on. I'll think about it later.
Yeah,
and he's never seen it up close. Every kill he's ever done in the Geonosian campaign was, at best he saw at the end of a scope. He never really got up close and dirty like this. So he's feeling some feelings. Let's see. We cut to chapter 5, and Darman is setting up a post at the tallest point in a certain area he's at to observe and trying to figure out where he is. We get a lot of moments here of, and I count this in with the existential meltdowns, just in awe of how beautiful the nature around him is.
Yeah.
And if any of you have never been in areas that are just largely farmland, they can be quite comical in a way if you go out to like cornfields and stuff, and it's just endless corn, and it's kind of hilarious.
Right.
But they are tremendously beautiful at the same time. And he's seeing that for the first time. He's never really left. He went to Geonosia. What's the name of the planet? Not Geonosia.
Geonosis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had lived on Commando.
Yes.
And then he went to Geonosis for his first battle, but he hadn't really seen anything like this.
Right. Right. And everything he saw was like through a simulation or something like that. So he's like out in nature and having this like I am Groot moment of like watching, daisies grow and all that shit.
Right.
It's kind of sweet. We get a little background on the bark sort of thing. I kind of think of it as caviar. People go absolutely ape shit for it, but myself and most other regular ass people go, what the fuck? No.
What's going on here? It's basically
gives a shit.
Well, every time they say bark, I just think of the root beer.
Oh, well, it is kind of yeah, that makes sense. See, and I don't like that either. It's one of the main things that my wife criticizes me for, because she is obsessed with root beer.
That'll be why you end up getting divorced.
Probably. It'll be bark and John Carpenter's The Thing. That will end our relationship forever. He starts questioning the wisdom of his superiors and the orders. Cue Billie Eilish's "What Was I Made For" to start playing. Existential meltdown number 26.
Yep.
In the distance, he sees some farms burning, and the militia is responsible. He wants to do something. Civilians are freaking out, but he doesn't want to make it worse. He shouldn't do something, but he realizes that these civilians are being punished because of him. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't want to do it right up until the moment he does, and so finally he just starts shooting, and he kills everyone in record time. Pure easy mode, full VATS, just headshot.
360-degree no scope.
No scope, exactly. It just takes them all out, checks all the barns, makes sure that no one else is there.
And this is a Republic Commando with, from what I understand, he has a torn ACL. You know?
Yeah, he's fucked up. And he's not at his best. And he just destroys everybody. And he goes to one of the civilians, and they're all freaking out at the sight of him. They're all terrified of him. And this goes back to what you were talking about before, Kevin, where it's just like, and everyone, they associate him with Hokan. Which we'll get more of it. He realizes his armor is similar to Mandalorian armor, and that's the only thing they can associate him with. So they associate him with Hokan, and they're all scared of him. And we do get a moment where one of them says, "We don't want your help. Fucking go."
Yeah.
Fucking go. And,
like,
and
this,
and really,
you're the reason they're here.
Right, exactly. And he literally has a moment where he's like, they didn't train us how to deal with ungrateful civilians. This is weird. It's a true like we'll be greeted as liberators kind of moment. He doesn't realize
like,
just how he thought he saved these people, and he did, but at the same time, this wouldn't be happening if it weren't for him, and he kind of knows that. There's
a part
mess.
that I highlighted that he's remembering from his training officer, Skirata. Don't worry, it's your forebrain shutting down. Just a fear reflex. You're bred from sociopathic stock. You'll fight just fine. You'll carry on fighting when normal men have turned into basket cases.
I love that. You're bred from sociopathic stock. That is a great, and they are. But it doesn't solve anything. So he's confused and just he's left with a lot to think about.
And then he realizes he sees like a reflection of himself.
Yeah,
and he realizes that the clone armor is designed after the Mandalorian battle armor. And I was like, oh, everybody fucking is terrified of Gez Hokan. No wonder they're afraid of me.
He gets it. He's a scary looking dude. They don't know who he is. The clone troopers are not common knowledge for most people at this point.
Right.
So it makes perfect sense. We cut to the rest of the squad. I thought I wrote the best of the squad. No, the rest of the squad.
It was
Darman's
the best of squads. It was the worst of squads.
Yeah. They're hiding from detection. Their people are still looking for them. They are hiding. And they're on their way to one of the rendezvous points. Atten is still kind of being a piece of shit, but then he surprises Niner by offhandedly commenting, "I've been Darman," suggesting that he actually might understand what's going on more than he lets on. The speeder that is searching for them locks on to Niner, and Niner goes, "Oh fucking shit!" and then basically has to blow it up and has a run the fuck away from an explosion action movie moment. And Fee starts giving him a little shit, and Niner starts getting kind of paranoid, like because he saw me run from that thing. Is he accusing me of being a bad leader, like that I was running from? And Fee's just like giving him shit. And so they check the wreckage together, and Atten comes around with a fucking computer from inside of the speeder and says, "I might be able to hack this." So that's their next mission there.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because Fee is like, "Yeah, that'll make a good marker, with all that smoke and shit."
Yeah. It's good. Yeah, because they want to leave behind markers for Darman in case he shows up. They would,
like that'll be a good
know
one.
that we were there. This will do. That'll probably do a good job. I wonder if he'll know it was us. We cut to Hokan with his mercenary senior staff, let's say.
Yeah.
We get basically informed that these people suck. They're the lowest of the low. They're shitty mercenaries.
He doesn't have a lot of options, to be honest.
No, he doesn't. He's not being funded a lot by Ankit. And so the only people he can really afford are people who otherwise cannot take any other gigs, which means they've got a criminal record as long as my arm. So they're not the cream of the crop here. And he's pissed at them because they torched yet another farm. He explains to them that you need to warn these people first. And if because they're trying to say like, hey, we were just in case we're trying to show them what happens if they decide to hide one of these troopers or something. Because no, you fucking warn them, and then if they do, hold somebody, then you burn the place to the ground. So otherwise, you're just making them hate you right off the bat, and they're going to hate you. Their kids are going to hate you, and my fucking life is going to be terrible. And he's like, basically, do we all understand the difference between a warning and a punishment? And they all go, yes, teacher. And the mercenary that he's been berating, he cuts his head off with a lightsaber, just flick of the wrist. And he explains to the crowd, that was a punishment for fucking up those farms. But for all of you, for him, for the rest of you, it's a warning. Do we see the difference?
It's such an amazing moment.
I love this scene so much. It was so good. So yeah, it's a terrific big bad moment. We just see how brutal he is and how clever he is, and I love it.
You get a Mandalorian with little to no, like, he's sociopathic stock.
Oh, absolutely.
You get a Mandalorian, full battle armor Mandalorian who now has a lightsaber.
Oh yeah, who loves this lightsaber? Loves it. He's like, because he checks his clothes out and everything. It's like, oh, it cauterized the neck immediately. My clothes aren't covered in blood. This fucking sword rules. All right, okay.
I'll take it.
He's
perfectly clean, no blood.
None.
Rather liked this lightsaber now.
Yeah. It's great. It's a great expansion on this character. I love it. He's still missing some of his mercenaries. He knows that the Republic's there. He knows that shit is going down, and he's actually kind of anticipating. No, Ripley, for Christ's sake, she got up here and she likes to stand directly on my notebook. It's like, I really need that. What if I gave you this notebook? I'm done with this notebook. Here you go. Stand on that. No, she wants my notebook. No, here, I'll open it. It's like a computer screen. There, do that. Okay. Anyway, jerk. So, rather than being like particularly afraid that the Republic is coming for him, he's kind of pumped because his reputation as a Mandalorian is in the shitter. He sees this whole assignment as kind of beneath him.
Yeah, he's very much a Marty McFly of a Mandalorian. Yeah, where you really just got to call him chicken to.
Yeah, he's ready. And hope that he'll just fuck you up. That's absolutely it. So he's looking forward to this. He sees this as an opportunity to show that he's still got some worth. He's still got some skill as a Mando.
Yep.
Chapter 6. We open with the farmer trying to kick Etain out. This is all your fucking fault. Get out. Never darken my towels ever again. Etain tries to use the Jedi mind trick on him. She's like, actually, you want me to stay? And he looks her in the eye and says, no, I don't. Get the fuck out. One more piece of evidence that Etain, worst Jedi of all time. I have it written here, terrible Jedi.
Terrible Jedi.
Terrible Jedi. But then the old woman comes in and kind of saves her bacon and explains, like, look, after this is all said and done, we'll need her because the Jedi can, like, help grow crops. And Etain goes, yeah, I like outwardly she's going, in her head she's like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. I've heard of Jedi who do that. I can't imagine.
I know
a worse
that's
hell.
Theoretically probable or possible, but
yeah, I'm not. It's possible, not probable.
I don't know. I don't want to do it, and I don't think I could do it.
Right, exactly. Although we find out that basically the only time she can do well as a Jedi is when like all the conditions are perfect, and if she's just sitting there in a field able to like hum to the plants, that might be the only thing she's good at with this shit. Yeah. She goes to the old woman and basically says, like, please explain yourself.
And her name is Jinart.
Yes, Jinart. And she says, you said they're coming. You want to maybe clarify on that? She does not. But for whatever reason, she starts to have a sense of family with this woman. She has a sense of trust in this woman that she can't quite put her finger on yet.
Yep.
We cut to Darman in a huge field. He sends a little micro droid remote ahead to like basically scout the area ahead of him. Yep. He's kind of nervous about it because it's a lot of Republic tech and information on that thing, and if it gets caught, he could be fucked. But he does it anyway because he figures he might be alone for a good long while. So he's like thinking, okay, I might have to find out if Gadan is good to eat. That'll be interesting. He spends a lot of time fantasizing about cake, which I can relate with.
Yeah, I do that. Pretty.
Oh God, yes, absolutely. It made me think a little bit of what was it? The Brandon Sanderson thing we read. The Infinity Blade thing, and he was
Infinity
like obsessed.
Blade, yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna have a whole pie. It's that kind of feeling.
And a whole pie.
Yeah, it's really cute, and like you find out like that basically their training officer, like their main trainer, who's basically their father figure, would like sneak them little delicacies and shit like that, even though they weren't supposed to have it.
So the Kaminoans were like very strict about what they were supposed to eat, but the training officer, the actual military dude that trained his batch of clones, would be like, "You want a little cake as a treat?"
Well, cake, and you can't help but they don't say this, but I can't help but imagine that for all intents and purposes, this is like a Little Debbie snack cake. Like, it's not that big of a fucking deal. They got it for like 79 cents at the gas station on the way there.
It's a
like
fucking Twinkie.
Right, exactly.
Like
but because these guys are basically used to eating like nutrition paste and shit like that, it's the greatest, most decadent thing in the world. And now here, Darman is fucking in a field in the middle of nowhere fantasizing about this cake. It's really cute. Not long after that, he finds out that his remote has been eaten by a bird. Possibly one of the same kinds of birds that brought their ship down in the first place. He can basically hear it screaming and cawing revenge over his head. He crosses the field eventually. He wants to rest, but he keeps pressing himself. We get more awe of nature stuff. And finally, he's kind of playing drill sergeant in his head, and he's imagining what a drill sergeant would say to him. And finally, he realizes this drill sergeant would point out that you being exhausted is not going to help anybody. You do need to rest. So he finds a pond or something and he bathes in that, and but then he like cleans his armor off and then puts it all right back on because you're not gonna. I'm gonna sleep in my armor.
Exactly.
And he's also suddenly he's paranoid about contamination because he notices these bugs in the field and they just kind of die. And he assumes there must be some sort of poison in the air, some sort of biological weapon. And he throws on his helmet and does the pressure seals and stuff. And the helmet's like, no, this is fine. And he doesn't quite get there, but he kind of starts to realize these bugs just die. They're just like they reach the end of their life cycle or something.
Right.
And that kind of sad to him. He can't quite put his finger on that. And so he like saves them in a bottle. It's so there's so much humanity in this section, and I really love it
so much. And it's just a really interesting whole segment when just Darman's little existential nightmare segments.
It's fascinating to see what he's going through, and
he even creates his own. At one point, he creates his own acronym. And it. NFQ, normal for Kilara.
Yeah.
As like,
right.
It's like, I'm just going to assume that this is normal for this planet.
I'm just going to, what choice do I have? This has got to be NFQ. That was a nice touch. At first, he can't sleep at all because his helmet keeps picking up movement, but eventually he does fall asleep.
Yeah.
We cut to Hokan, who has been summoned by, let's say it again, Ovalot Quail Uthan.
Who in my head is voiced by Shora Agdashlu, who is she's the Indian woman with the very husky smoker's voice.
Yes, I love her.
Yes,
good call.
She is the voice for this doctor.
Very good choice. Absolutely. Yes, I'm rewriting that in my head canon. Bingo. He's summoned by her. She's this scientist. Now, and that's the thing. She's not quite what I expected because she's a scientist. She's doctor. But she has this stately kind of regalness to her, this noble way about her, and she's clearly a very, very big player on this planet. Hokan likes her, despite the fact that she develops weapons that are not what he thinks of as real weapons, like nanoviruses and shit like that.
Right.
But he likes her a lot. He respects her. He likes the way she carries herself and that sort of thing. Now, she's concerned about recent events and her own protection. And Hokan agrees, your security is bad. You are vulnerable here.
Your security's bad. My security is bad. I don't have the troops.
Yeah, he's like, Ankit is, and she's like, well, I thought you were supposed. There's a lot of money, set aside for all this shit. And he goes, well, I'm not getting any of it. So she basically suggests, well, maybe we can go around Ankit. We can get you better resources for this contract that I can set up for you, and you can work for me. We'll go over Ankit's head for now. She clearly has no love lost between her and that guy.
Yeah. Lick Ankit.
Ankit. And so she tells Hokin, she says, she basically tells him about the clones and says, do you know who's fighting for the Republic now? They're these clones. And he's like, well, that's fucked up. And she goes, yeah. You ready to hear what's really fucked up about them? You know who they're a clone of? And he goes, no. And she says, Jango Fett. And he fucking flips out. He's so pissed off.
Flips his shit.
Yeah, it's just the level of disrespect for one of the greatest Mandalorian warriors of his time. It's horrifying to him on so many levels. And she goes, oh, but and completely off topic. The nanovirus I'm working on, it's specifically meant to kill clones. Isn't that fun? And he says, when can I sign on? And she goes, right the fuck now, fuck boy. Here you go. Sign on the dotted line. And
he's like, yes, I am in now.
Yes, everything. And he literally says to her, I would have done this for free. Like, I am in. And she's like, great. I thought you'd say that.
That's great. I'm still going to pay you, but
still going to pay. We'll get you a better army. Your mercenaries suck. And he's like, yeah. So she says where the nanovirus is meant to kill the clones, and his response is the kindest solution.
Yes. Yeah.
And I can't help but agree with him on a certain level. I'm feeling worse and worse for these clones as it goes on. Because
here's the thing is, I'm going to save my thought on this till after, because this is the last chapter coming up, right?
Yes,
Chapter 7.
Yes.
I'm going to save my thoughts on it till after this chapter, because it kind of reveals some additional context about the clones.
Yeah. We'll get into that. So chapter 7, we cut to Niner and the rest of the squad. Niner is considering the differences between their training and real life. And he's basically taking notes. He's like, I've got so many notes I'm going to give to our trainers when we get back. We are not, this is bullshit. This is totally different.
We are not prepared.
No, this is not any good. They're hiding from some militia forces, the dregs, and they're waiting for them to go. They're all sitting out getting drunk, and they're like, fuck, our rendezvous point is over there, and we got to wait for these guys to leave. And I think Atten is the one who's like, maybe they'll die of alcohol poisoning eventually. That'll be good. They're like, yeah, maybe. So as they're doing this, suddenly this new group of mercenaries show up who are almost entirely droids, led by what's the alien that leads them?
Umbaran.
Umbaran, yeah, led by an Umbaran, and they basically show up and just blow them all away. Just like there's a new boss in town. Go fuck yourself. Consider this your severance package, and just decimate the militia and leave back the way they came. Just as casual as if you're kicking a can down the street.
So the Umbarans, just as a descriptor, are like very human looking, but bald. Like they don't have any hair, and they have like really creepy pale eyes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I do remember that. And as they watch them go, the Niners, considering the similarities between droids and clones, they've got a lot of things in common, and they're probably just as off-putting to regular people. So, how much difference is there really between us and these droids?
Do clones dream of electric droids?
Exactly.
It's kind of where we're at right now.
I think it's pretty much it. Yeah. We cut to Etain at the farm again. She is moving boards with the Force in the back of the barn.
Best she can do.
It's the best she can do because no one's watching her. She's under no pressure, and she can move these boards. She's got to make a little escape. She's trying to make an extra exit in the barn.
She's sort of like that, was it Mystery Men, where there was the guy that could turn invisible, but only if nobody was looking at him?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's that kind of. She just. It might as well. She might as well not be a Jedi. Is what I'm saying.
Might as well. Yeah.
Just the worst Jedi ever. She starts to sense. She realizes she senses the Force in Jannart, who shows up, and she says like. What you know, like why didn't you tell me? Why And she's so confused by the idea of this person who isn't a Jedi.
And Jannart's like, because you're fucking my shit up, girl.
Yeah. She's like, I chose to let you. Like she says, well, why should I trust you? What if you're a Sith or something like that? Jannart basically is like, go fuck yourself. You can only sense that I'm strong in the Force because I let you. So shut your fucking mouth. And just do what I say. It's kind of great. So
one of your dudes is here. Let's go.
Yeah, that's exactly it. She's like, your soldier's waiting for you. It's like, my soldier. Like, yeah, follow the stream up there. So Etain leaves and starts going through the woods, and she senses a child in the distance, and she can't quite. She's like, what the fuck is a kid doing? And the kid isn't. She senses that he isn't afraid per se, but his pulse is jacked. He's alert, and then before you know it, she's flashbanged. Just what the fuck? And it's a clone trooper, but she thinks it's a Mandalorian, so she swings on him with a lightsaber. And the clone trooper very calmly says, "Man, please stop doing that.
Please stop doing that.
Don't make me."
It's an amazing scene.
It's so calm because she's such a shitty fighter, and he's so cool and collected. He's like, "Ma'am, I beg you to please stop." And finally, he grabs her and shoves her down in the stream, and like she loses her lightsaber. And he goes, "Ma'am, please stop making me drown you. I'm begging you." And then like he lets her up, and she realizes this is not Hokin. This is not the Mandalorian. And he apologizes. And he's like, I should have made it clear who I was. Sorry about that. And he calls her General. Then he calls her Commander, which very unnerving to her and the rest of the audience because she sucks.
Yeah.
But that's all he knows Jedi as. And he sees that he calls her General, and she goes, I'm not a general. And he goes, oh, you're right. I see now that you have the braid. Commander.
And she's like, what?
I beg your pardon?
Pardon?
Yeah. So so just very, very confused.
She goes, what's the Grand Army?
Right. Yeah. She has no idea about any of this shit. She's like, I don't know what the Grand Army. She doesn't know anything. And so this guy, who is like armed to the teeth, who is a commando, who she's very much thinking in terms of like, this guy has to save me, is going, well, you're in charge. She's like, what? Like, no.
You're the man now, dog.
Yeah, and she's just kind of shocked. She makes a point of thinking like she's completely alarmed by not just his confidence, but how much confidence he seems to have in her. Like he'll follow her anywhere, that kind of thing. And she's like, well, who the fuck was the child I was sensing? And she asks him like how old he is, and he says, I'm 10. Which of course he is, because he was made in a lab.
Like, yeah, I mean, for me, the Price is Right, You Lose horn just kind of played in my head as soon as I read that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. This is not.
Oh, man, this really makes every prequel thing a supreme bummer, doesn't it?
Yes. It's like, this is not great. We were killing children. Sweet. Yeah. So we cut to Hokin admiring his new droid army. He is thrilled to be with them. They are heading to Ankit's villa. And he lets Ankit know, by the way, I'm keeping my droids here. You're staying in your house.
Your house is now my base.
Exactly, because we are under martial law, because the Republic's here. Go fuck yourself, and I beg you to push back on this. Please.
I beg you to give me a reason.
Please give me a reason to fuck your day up, fuck your rest of your life up. And it's and he's very satisfied. He's like, it's this nice little moment of revenge. We cut to the squad, the remaining rest of the squad. They're on their way to Rendezvous Point Beta, but they can't find it. They basically have like, they know what they're looking for, but they can't find it. Fee actually expresses some frustration at the HQ. They've kind of bungled this mission. He says, we're not going to make it, are we? Like, we're going to die down here. Like, this everything has gone wrong. And it's clearly the first time he's ever like fully questioned the leaders.
Yes.
And
they're bad. They're bad at their, like, the leadership is clearly not set up to do anything.
Completely incompetent. And so, and so they have these memories of their first trainer, who was a miserable drunk of a man, who was just as likely to like basically throw clone slurs at them. But then he would get into his cups and suddenly recognize their humanity and clearly hated what was happening to them. He was offended by their existence, but not by who they were, if that makes sense. And that's when he would do things like sneak in a little cake,
sneak
or
in the
something
cakes
like that for
and
them.
things like that. Yeah,
there's a really interesting character.
There's a little moment here where they talk about how the Kaminoans were the only who was it? Fee is thinking he might have been bred for selfless obedience, but he wasn't stupid. The Kaminoan technicians were the only things that truly terrified him. And he's thinking about the time when a batch of clones is born with slightly less than 20/20 eyesight, and they just were disappeared after their first training exercise.
Yeah. Fully expendable.
Yeah.
It's deeply disturbing. And so it really is eye opening.
Yeah. And that trainer at some point then says, "Be proud, however much these ugly gray freaks treat you like cattle."
Yeah.
And there's so much good stuff in this book.
It's great. It's really good shit. Atten suddenly comes under fire by droids. They take out the organic leader and then make short work of the droids themselves and decide they've got to make a marker for Darman. They basically have to, they're going to skip this next rendezvous point because it's too close to where this all went down. So they're going to go to another rendezvous point and just leave a marker there. Niner finally gets a chance to ask Atten what he meant by why have you been Darman? And Atten explains that he's been the last man of his squad twice. So he knows what it, and one of the first times was when they were trying to rescue him. He got separated and they were trying to rescue him. So it wasn't that he disliked Darman for getting rescued. He just didn't want him to go through the survivor's guilt that he now struggles with on a daily basis. And he tells me someone told me there's this thing called survivor's guilt. I'm still trying to wrap my damn head around that. And then he says, and this is my favorite quote of the whole book so far. He says, he's talking about survivor's guilt, and he said, they bred a lot of stuff out of us. Why not that? And that's, that's great. It's so fucking true. It's like for all of the shit that they are doing when they play with their genetics, they don't do anything to help them feel better after all this is done.
Yeah. They're having trouble dealing with this shit. And the one other moment is Atten got shot in the chest at this.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, Darman, who they're still trying to, find, is down a leg, basically. He has an ACL tear, some sort of tendon tear. And Atten now has, they have to do, field work on him just to make sure he didn't have, a collapsed lung.
Yeah, because it didn't break through his body or something, but, it's bad. It's a serious impact.
It's a massive bruise on his chest. So...
Yeah.
So they're not doing well.
They're not doing great. So
if I had to predict anything, that this feels like one of those, they're all going to die stories.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It feels like they're setting us up for each one of them to get picked off one by one. Yeah, without question. And I am going to be so bummed out if that happens, because you want to talk about like getting to know your characters before you punish them. This is Travis is doing a wonderful job with that.
Yes.
So finally, we cut to Hokan, and he finds the remains of said destroyed droid platoon. One of his kiss-ass sergeants runs up and tells him that they found something, and it's a pile of droid pieces that where it was a marker that they'd clearly left for Darman. However, Hokan interprets it as a trophy, as like them mocking him.
Yes.
So he is pissed and marvels over the idea of how much the clones resemble Jango Fett.
Yeah.
So that is chapter 7, and that's all we got for today, folks. So Kevin, what are you thinking so far?
There's a lot of really good stuff in this book. Just really good war, and you can like look at this book and be like, yeah, this makes sense why I'm very interested in her Halo books.
Me too.
Or Gears of War. Because
there's a reason she does a lot of military science fiction.
A lot of good military stuff. And not even just like the stuff where it's like the specifics, the movements and all that. She does a lot of good work in terms of the humanity in it as well. So I think that's pretty cool. And I think there's 2 times in the book so far where hard contact is actually defined.
Yes, I forgot to bring that up. That's the name of the book. The
name of the book is Hard Contact, and Hokan mentions it to the doctor at one point. He's like something like, "Yeah, I don't think the mercenaries I've hired would survive hard contact." And then he said that he defines it for her because he realizes that she would know it, and it's like that hard contact meaning an actual engagement with the enemy.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's
I think that's terrific. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Okay. So
how you feeling?
I'm really enjoying it. I'm really, really enjoying it. I agree with you. This is the first time that it actually has made me excited about the prospect of maybe reading one of the Gears of War books.
Sure.
Which has always kind of been on the shelf in terms of...
we've always had it floating out there as a choice.
Yeah, but now that I know that this is the kind of fucking quality that she brings to the table, it actually makes you go, you know what? Could be fucking good. So I'm impressed. I've always enjoyed when we get into the military sci-fi shit. It feels like military sci-fi is where video game adaptations really take it seriously.
Really seriously, yeah. We even had like a what was it? The last one, Fire Warrior. It's a middling game, and the adaptation is like, well, this adaptation is going to go fucking hard.
Well, that's just it. The last two, they both gone so fucking hard. This one and Fire, it's crazy. So I'm really impressed. I think, and I feel silly for this, but this is actually the first time I ever thought about how immoral what they're doing.
And that's what I wanted to. That's yes. Thank you for reminding me, because that's what I was about to bring up. Is like, it wasn't until what's her name, Etienne or Etienne, senses the clone trooper, his presence in the Force is that of a child.
Yeah, because he is a child for all intents and purposes.
And I was like, ew. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
it's an army of child soldiers.
Yes, exactly. It's crazy, and I can't believe it took me that long to like realize that. But this it changes everything. It changes everything, and I never liked the Jedi anyway.
Right,
but it changes everything, and it just shows you just how immoral and fucked up this whole situation is. Yeah, I'm really impressed by that. That's pretty cool shit. So
yeah, because like, and you can get into the whole like, of course, like, all right, well, it was the it was a Jedi who had a vision of the future, and that they would need a clone army, and that's why the clone army got started 10 years before the war actually happened. Like, there's a whole bunch of shit that goes into that, but still, the Jedi are totally cool with using a clone army of clone just because they look like men. Like, he's 10.
Yeah, he's a child.
He's a child.
They are people. They are people.
And they're people.
Yeah. And this is what they're bred for. They're literally bred for this. And it's like but then again, you think about it, how surprised can you be? The Jedi literally go into people's homes and steal their kids away.
Yeah. Like this kid's got midichlorians.
Yeah.
Jedi are basically an analog for the Roman Catholic Church.
Big time. Yeah, no, fuck the Jedi, fuck the church.
Think about the Roman Catholic Church in like the from like 900 to 1500 or what have you, where it's like they had they like controlled countries and shit like that. You got popes that are just like, bigger than any king. And it's like, I was like, oh shit, the Jedi are basically a church-like institution.
Yeah, they're pretty much it. Yeah. They're not great.
They're not the heroes.
Nope.
They're just the church space cops wizards.
Yeah.
And all Jedi are bastards. A-jab.
Yes, exactly. A-jab. So so now with all of that out of the way, Kevin, I have a single question to ask you.
Yes. Yeah.
That is, what are you playing?
Oh, okay. I did not expect you to ask me this
I realize
question.
I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
So I have been playing a little ditty called RoboCop Rogue City, and I talked about it last episode, and I'm getting pretty close to the end, I think. The time to beat says about 9 to 11 hours, and I've put just about 8.5 into it, so I think I'm getting there. I'm closing in on it. It's a fun little game. You can shoot some people in the dick. You have
some of the juiciest headshots I've ever seen in my entire life.
Such juicy headshots.
It's ridiculous.
Just blood everywhere.
Oh yeah.
I actually have you can actually get a power up on so there's these things when you're upgrading your pistol, there's these little boards with chips that you slot into them. And some of the boards have like an upgrade for more gore. How? Won't that shut your computer down after a certain point? It's like, and it just reminds me of the original Fallout games. Where there's a perk called Bloody Mess.
Yes.
And
That's
did
all
nothing.
It does.
It did nothing but make people die in the most violent way possible.
I love it.
And it's brilliant. I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's I'm almost towards the end. It's one of those games where I'm like, oh, okay, well, I can skip most of the dialogue and just get to the question that they're asking me. Because it's like the story's fine. Actually, what's funny is towards the end, there's actually a really good horror sequence.
Oh, okay.
Like 3/4 of the way through the game. That's kind of been hinted at throughout the game. But other than that, I'm having a lot of fun with RoboCop Rouge City.
Nice.
The other thing I've been playing is I just started playing Fear and Hunger 2 Termina.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Because I love to do it.
Because you hate yourself.
Do it, folks. It's actually, what's funny is I fired it up and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to play it on easy mode first. And easy mode is not easy in the Funger games. But it is a bit like, I know next to nothing about Fear and Hunger 2. I've seen Super Eye Patch Wolf play it a little bit. But I don't like Fear and Hunger 1, I know like a lot of the broad strokes of where things are, what I need to do, all that stuff. Fear and Hunger 2, I don't know where items are located, but like I was able to pretty much put like a solid 3 hours into the game and get to a save point like 3 hours in, and then put another like hour into it before I died and got sent back to the save point. But I'm at a save point like 3 hours in, and I've done some stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. You know, I don't feel, it's not like as punishing, it feels like, as the first one where, like, it's a little bit more finely tuned than the first one. I did have a bullshit
this one kind of has like a Masks of Majora kind of thing, right? Doesn't it?
It does.
Yes.
Actually, so was it Majora's
Mask? Yeah.
Yeah, moon name.
Mask of Majora.
So okay. So in Majora's Mask, the festival is called Termina, I believe.
Oh, okay. So this is not a coincidence.
The moon of Termina appears in Majora's Mask and plays a massive, and it's not a coincidence that it's Termina, that's Fear and Hunger 2 Termina, because it has the moon is in its, like, there's this moon presence, and it kind of looks like the moon from Majora's Mask. The difference is, basically what's going on is as the days of the festival go on, people are becoming what's called moon scorched. Okay. And they're becoming like mutated from this moon's like presence. And so you're finding villagers, and they're like, some of them are still like coherent, and they're like, it's like my skin's burning and itching, but I can't stop. And they're like ripping their own skin off. Oh. And others are like, have lost all semblance of sentience and are just running at you, trying to kill you. There's this one character who is a doctor, and I'm not playing as him, but I had him briefly as like a party member. And when you interact with a dead body, you get a list of options of things you can do with it. And when he's in your party, one of the options is medical examination. And basically when he does the medical examination, he like goes through, it's like, well, the skin seems to be falling off, and underneath the muscles seem to be growing into this, like, there's like a new skin like forming over the muscle. Like, he gives this detailed synopsis of what's happening to the moon scorched people. So that's interesting. And there's a bunch of playable characters, and over the course of, time in the game, like as days pass, more and more of those playable characters out in the city or whatever, they become moon scorched as well, and they become basically like mini bosses if you don't like save them or whatever before they're moon scorched.
Christ.
So yeah, that's also a thing that I am playing. And I think that's it. I've been firing up World of Horror on occasion.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because the 1.0 came out.
I need to get back into that. I was enjoying it. I just fell off that one.
Yeah. It's got its full release out, so
nice.
Might as well. It's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Phil, what are you playing?
Well, I'm here to say that I haven't played Marvel Snap in like almost a week.
What?
Yes, I have been playing Warcraft Rumble.
How is that?
It's pretty good.
Okay. Is it a Snap like?
No, it's hold on, which one is it? It's yes, it's kind of like Clash. What's the name of the game? The one where you have a tower on either side and you send people up the board.
A tower defense.
Yeah,
type thing,
kind
right?
of. But but you collect, instead of cards like in Marvel Snap, you're collecting minis. So that got my attention right off the bat. And some of them are proper characters from Warcraft. Some of them are types, and it's like the Clash of Clans games and stuff like that, except it's got a pretty robust single player. And you're upgrading the characters. There is a ton of payable shit, which I'm not really all that interested in just yet, because I've only been playing it for a week. But but I gotta say, I'm enjoying it. You do hit kind of a part where it becomes real tough as nails, and you're like, okay, if I'm not going to spend money, I'm going to need to, really. It's going to take a while, and that's fine by me because I only play these games when I'm bored and I'm pooping or something like that. So fuck it. But it did pull me away from Marvel Snap for almost a week. So that's got to be worth something.
Yeah.
So I've been enjoying that. I'm gonna see how long. Just gonna ride this out. See how long.
See how long it keeps your attention.
Sticks.
Yeah.
But I'd say the big game that I played this past week though was Cocoon.
Okay.
Which is by, I believe, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, Jep Carlson, who made Limbo and Inside. And Inside was one of my top 10 games of the year when it came out, and I also like Limbo quite a bit. And it is very similar to those games. It's that kind of adventure. This guy should teach a class on how to deliver narrative without looking you in the eye and telling you the story. It's all picked up as you go, and you play this beetle, basically this little space beetle, and you are traveling between dimensions and solving puzzles and that sort of thing. And but these different dimensions can be collected as a sphere, basically. Right. And every sphere has a different ability, that kind of thing, and you have to find the right ways to use these spheres and these dimensions to solve certain puzzles. It gets very obtuse. It might be Jep Carlson's best game. It might be the best game he's ever made. It also might be the most difficult, because when you're playing Inside, for example, the extent of the puzzles, they can be difficult, but they're not going to blow your mind apart. It's I've got to figure out how to get these mindless guys over here to turn this lever or whatever. Right. And you'll get it. You'll get there eventually. The level of difficulty in these puzzles was such that I used a guide for about 50% of it. Oh, wow. And I am proud of myself that that's all I used it for. Some of them are so traveling in, because it's like you've got to put the dimension within this dimension and put that dimension over here, so and it's so difficult. But the aesthetic is gorgeous. The music is beautiful. It's got this kind of biomechanical. Did you ever play Thumper?
Yes.
It's got Thumper vibes, not just the fact that you're playing like a shimmery beetle. It's like metal and organic, not biomechanical like H.R. Giger, but this kind of. It's beautiful, and the colors are incredible. It tells this story that's very strange, and I'm not fully understanding it, but I loved it, and I was fully engaged. And it's the first of his games that have boss fights, and they're very similar to was it Death's Door with the Raven?
Yes.
Very similar. The boss fights put me in the mind of Death's Door, and like his other games, literally the only button is you got like the A button. Everything is done with the one button, and the directional pad, and the level of versatility that he is able to get out of that single button is nothing short of genius. This is not, and I'm put in this funny position where this is not my favorite of his games, but it is unequivocally the best of his games. It is awesome. A work of art. It's amazing.
That's awesome. I'll have to check it out.
It's absolutely worth checking out. I love it. This guy, he is way up there in terms of game designers that from here on out, anytime I hear his name and attached to a project, I'm in. because he knows how to get atmosphere right, and that's such a big thing for me.
Yeah, because for me, that guy is like Lucas Pope.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. Like he's up there with Lucas Pope for me. It's like if I hear Lucas Pope is releasing a game, I'm like, oh, I'm in. It's a done deal.
You don't have to tell me about it. I'm buying it.
No, I don't care. Or the guy who wrote, the guy who did, it was one of our top games last year. It was the card game, the really creepy one.
Inscription. What's his name? Yeah.
It's a difficult name, if I'm recalling correctly.
Daniel Mullins.
No, that's not difficult at all. But yeah, like same deal. It's like Daniel Mullins. The moment I remember who he is, apparently, I will jump on. You don't even need to ask. I will play his games.
Right.
Because there's just that level of consistency, and this is the third of his games that I've played, and it just kind of sealed that deal for me.
Yeah.
Absolute work of art. Again, I think I'd play Inside again over it just because of the level of difficulty and everything. But I can also look at it objectively enough to be like, oh no, but this is a better game. This is just a better designed game. It's definitely worth a look. But that's me. That's what I've been playing.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode, everybody. A beefy episode to kick off. Beefy side of beef.
Aren't you lucky? Y'all got to listen to us for almost 2 hours.
Almost 2 hours talking about Star Wars. A Star War.
How did you not? Of course, this was going to happen. Like either of us are surprised.
Like either of us are surprised. If you'd like to hear us and pay us, you can go to patreon.com/pixelatpod, because that is where you can pay us your money. We got 3 tiers: $1, $5, and $10. And speaking of $10, if you are in the $10 tier, you get a little special shout out at the end the episode. So today, right now, we're going to shout out the person that we shout out every episode.
You know who it is?
You know who it is. It's Friendly Friend.
Friendly Friend.
Thank you for being a friendly friend, Friendly Friend. I know one of you out there is thinking, how could I join Friendly Friend? You know? And it's simple. Just you got $10, an extra $10 burning a hole in your pocket every month. Go on over to patreon.com/pixelatpod. Or if that's too many slashes, just put in pixelatpod.com into your browser and it'll take you there as well.
How easy is that? I'm going to do it right now.
Do it right now.
I'm going to do it right now.
Phil's going to do it right now. While Phil's doing that, just to prove how easy it is. And how easy was that, Phil?
I'm there. I'm done.
You're there. Okay.
You're there. Simple.
So simple. You know what else is simple? Following us on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Blue Sky, on all the sites at PixelatPod. Go there. You'll love it. You love us. You can find us. We have a Discord server that's linked in the show notes on every episode.
Yes.
Also, I haven't called for this in a while because you folks have been rocking it, but if you can, rate us 5 stars.
Yes.
I have not asked in a while, but y'all have been just crushing it with the rating us of 5 stars. But I'm just throwing it out there as a friendly reminder. If you haven't, and you're listening on iTunes, or you're listening on Spotify, or you're listening on some other platform that allows for a rating, go ahead, rate us 5 stars, leave a lovely comment, and that would be awesome.
Yes,
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening tonight. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.